All right, so we've talked about where AI's been, and we've looked at where it is right now. But honestly, the real story, the one that matters most, is what happens next. So in this explainer, we're going to lay out a timeline for the future of AI. We'll start with the stuff that's right around the corner, and then get into the truly mind-bending possibilities way out on the horizon. Okay, so here's the game plan. We're going to start big with the overall timeline. Then we'll kind of zoom in and get into the nitty-gritty, the tech driving all of this, the huge economic changes. After that, we'll talk about you, how you can actually navigate this new world. And finally, we'll zoom back out to tackle the really big questions, the massive problems AI might solve, the new ones it'll create, and what this all means for us, as people.
All right, first up, let's dive into the big picture, the timeline itself. This is really the framework for everything else we're going to talk about. It sets the stage for what's coming, and just as important, when we can expect it to hit.
It's easy to think of the AI future as this one single event, but that's not really how it works. It's much more helpful to think of it in three distinct phases, or eras. First, we've got the age of the AI assistant, and honestly, we're already living in the early days of this. Next comes the rise of transformative AI, where things get really interesting. And then, way out there, we get to the truly speculative stuff, the technological singularity. So let's break each of these down one by one.
So right now, between today and about 2030, we're in what you could call the age of adoption. This is the period where AI stops being a neat toy and becomes a core part of how we work and live. I'm talking about autonomous AI agents that do more than just spit out answers. They'll actually do stuff for you end-to-end tasks, like booking all your travel or managing your project logistics. And in huge sectors like healthcare or finance, it's going to be like giving doctors and analysts superpowers. Now, this is also where we'll start to feel the pinch of job disruption for real. But on the flip side, we're going to see these brand new jobs pop up, things you've never heard of, like an AI trainer or an AI ethics officer.
Okay, now let's look at the next decade, from 2030 to 2040. This is where things get, well, really serious. It's the decade of deep integration. A lot of experts are putting the odds at 50-50 that we achieve artificial general intelligence, or AGI, in this time frame. And just to be clear, AGI is the big one. It's an AI that can think, reason, and learn pretty much any task a human can. But here's the kicker. Even if we don't get to full-blown AGI, the AI we do have will be so powerful it'll be running critical things like our city grids or logistics networks. And when that happens, those tough conversations about control, ethics, and safety, they're not just academic anymore. They're going to be front and center and absolutely unavoidable.
And then we look past 2040. And honestly, this is where we kind of fall off the map into the unknown frontier. Any predictions from here on out are pure speculation, so take them with a grain of salt. But the big idea that everyone talks about is the singularity. This is that hypothetical moment where an AI becomes smart enough to start improving itself, which makes it smarter, which lets it improve itself even faster, and you get this runaway explosion of intelligence that we just can't predict or control. In a world like that, suddenly wild ideas like universal basic income don't seem so wild anymore, or even brain-computer interfaces straight out of sci-fi. They become, well, plausible.
Okay, so that's the what and the when. But what about the how? What's the engine actually driving this train? Let's shift gears now and zoom in on the specific technologies that are making this whole future possible.
So what are these big drivers? It really boils down to four main forces pushing everything forward. First, you've got the big one, the holy grail, the race to build AGI, a truly human-level intelligence. Then you've got embodied AI. This is where AI gets a body, stepping out of the computer and into robots that can interact with the physical world. At the same time, AI is diving deep into biology and medicine, completely changing how we understand and treat disease. And finally, all this power is getting wrapped up into personal AI agents. Think of them less as tools and more as customized partners for your daily life.
Now, when you have technologies this powerful, you can bet there's going to be a massive economic earthquake. It's just inevitable. So let's talk about that. The great economic reshuffle. Who are going to be the winners? And who's at risk of getting left behind?
Okay, let's not sugarcoat it. Some industries are facing a real existential threat. And the common thread here? It's any job based on routine, repetitive work. Think about those content farms just churning out endless articles for search engines, or massive call centers, or even sites with generic stock photos. AI is getting incredibly good at doing that stuff cheaper, faster, and at a scale humans just can't match. The key thing to understand, though, is that AI isn't necessarily killing entire industries from top to bottom. What it's really doing is hollowing out the middle. It's automating all the predictable, grunt work first.
But it's not all doom and gloom.
Far from it. Because for every job that gets automated, a whole new industry seems to pop up. We're talking about the birth of completely new sectors that could be worth trillions of dollars. For instance, you'll have a massive industry around AI safety and governance, basically the people who make sure these powerful systems don't go off the rails. You'll see a booming synthetic content economy, creating movies, music, and games all generated by AI. And then there are these huge new markets for things like personal AI companions and hyper-personalized AI-driven healthcare.
Of course, this whole transformation isn't going to happen at the same speed for everyone. It's more like a staggered race. You've got companies in big tech, e-commerce, and media in the fast lane, just flooring it. Why? Because they've got the data, the talent, and not a lot of red tape. But then you look at other sectors, like healthcare, government, or the legal profession. They're moving a lot more slowly, and for good reason. The stakes are just so much higher. When lives are on the line, you have to worry about things like liability and safety, so you're going to be a lot more cautious.
Okay, we've talked about timelines, tech, and the economy. But that all leads to the single most important question, right? Which is, so what? What does any of this mean for me? So let's get personal. Let's build a practical playbook for how you, an individual, can not just survive, but actually thrive in this new AI era.
So how do you actually stay ahead of the curve? Well, it breaks down into 6 key things you need to do. First, you absolutely have to become AI literate. I don't mean you need to be a coder, but you need to understand the fundamentals of how this stuff works. Second, get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Adaptability is the new superpower, because reskilling yourself every few years is just going to be normal. Third, double down on the things that make you human: creativity, critical thinking, emotional intelligence. Fourth, think about building a career that works with tech, not one that competes against it. Fifth, in a world that's going to be flooded with AI-generated stuff, the premium is on creating original work, not just consuming. And really, all of this just boils down to one simple, powerful idea. You have to make lifelong learning a core part of who you are. It's not a nice-to-have anymore, it's a survival skill. And this right here might be the single most important point of this entire explainer. Listen closely. You are not going to be replaced by AI. You are going to be replaced by a human who knows how to use AI. That's the real threat. The people who lean in and master these tools are going to see their productivity skyrocket. We're talking 5x, maybe even 10x more effective. And the people who ignore it, well, they're going to find it very, very hard to keep up. Okay, let's zoom back out, because we need to talk about the profound, double-edged nature of AI. It's a classic double-edged sword. On one side, you have the potential to solve some of our biggest, oldest problems. But on the other, you have a whole new set of dangers we've never faced before.
Let's start with the good news, the really, really good news. On the utopian side of the coin, AI could be the key to unlocking solutions to challenges that have plagued humanity for centuries. I mean, think about it. In healthcare, it could help us live longer, healthier lives by spotting diseases before they even start. When it comes to climate change, it could optimize our power grids and even accelerate the hunt for clean energy like fusion. It could help us end hunger with super-efficient farming, and it could spark a new scientific revolution by discovering new drugs and materials at a pace we can't even imagine.
Okay, but we have to be realists. We have to balance that incredible optimism with a very sober look at the Pandora's box AI might also be opening. If we don't manage this transition carefully, we could see massive job displacement in certain areas. The inequality gap between nations that have AI and those that don't could become a canyon. The potential for misuse, think autonomous weapons or hyper-realistic disinformation campaigns, is frankly terrifying. And then there's the deeper philosophical crisis. What does it mean to be human? And what is our purpose in a world where machines are better than us at almost everything? And that existential question actually leads us perfectly into our final section, and maybe the most important one. We've spent all this time talking about what AI can do, so now let's talk about what it might never be able to do. Let's talk about the uniquely human gaps. So, what exactly do I mean by permanent gaps? Look, these aren't just features that engineers haven't figured out yet. The idea here is that these are fundamental qualities of being human, rooted deep in our consciousness and our biology. We're talking about the kind of wisdom you can only get from actually living a life, with all its messiness. We're talking about real, genuine emotions, the ability to weigh a truly complex moral problem, and maybe most of all, that deep internal search for meaning and purpose that drives us all.
Let's really think about this for a second. An AI can calculate circles around us. It can process more data in a split second than we could in 1,000 lifetimes. That's a fact. But it will never have that flash of human intuition. You know that feeling, that gut instinct that leads to a brilliant idea that seems to come from nowhere? The data can't explain that. That's us.
And it goes deeper. An AI can learn to simulate emotion.
It can be trained to say the perfect, comforting words. It can mimic a caring tone of voice so well it might fool you. But it will never, ever actually feel the warmth of human empathy. That genuine, soul-deep connection you feel when you share in someone's happiness or sit with them in their pain, that's not a simulation.
And that brings us to what might be the biggest, most permanent gap of all. AI is an incredible problem-solving machine. We can point it at almost any challenge and it will find a solution. But the one thing it cannot do, the one thing it will never do, is give us our sense of meaning. That fundamental question, why am I here? That's not a problem for an AI to solve. That question will always, always be ours to answer.
So I want to leave you with this one final question to chew on. As these amazing, powerful AI systems get more and more advanced, do you think they'll eventually close these gaps? Will they one day become truly like us? Or is the opposite true? Will their incredible rise simply act as a mirror, showing us more clearly than ever what it truly means to be human and what can never, ever be replaced?